Good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to today's webinar. For those of you who have just logged on, we have already completed the sound check, so thank you for those of you who helped. If you do find it difficult to hear us, you can increase the volume on your phone, or if you're using the mic and speakers option, you can do this on your computer. So today's webinar, we have two speakers. The first one is Paul Byrne, and Paul is the Managing Director here at BrightPay. He's also a chartered accountant, having previously spent 20 years running his own practice. Today, Paul will talk to you about Auto Enrolment, 7 Steps to Profit with BrightPay, and this is designed for bookkeepers and accountants who have payroll clients. Paul will give his fairly unique insight into what Auto Enrolment will mean for bureaus who process payroll for their clients, along with his own thoughts on how you can capitalise from this business opportunity. Our second speaker today is Darren Critton, who is an auto enrolment specialist. Darren has worked in the financial industry for the last 20 years, previously as a senior manager within the retail banking sector. He's a regulated advisor for the last 7 years, focusing mainly on helping SME clients. His experience lies in helping both large and small companies prepare and implement auto enrolment. Recently, Darren has started working as a corporate financial advisor with Continuum, which was created by some of the most experienced people in the industry to deliver a modern financial planning experience. Darren has been recognised by the Pensions Management Institute, having completed their certificate in Pensions Auto Enrolment in 2013. Today, Darren will present Auto Enrolment Collaboration is the Key to Success. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so feel free to type your questions into the questions bar at the right of the screen throughout the webinar so that we can try to get through as many questions as possible at the end. Today we are also giving away 2 free BrightPay Bureau licenses, and the competition is open to attendees who stay for the entire webinar. Details of the winners will be emailed out to everyone afterwards. Today's webinar is also being recorded, and a copy of the recording and the presentation slides will be sent to everyone afterwards. So I'd now like to pass you over to Paul Byrne, who will begin Auto Enrolment 7 Steps to Profit with BrightPay.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Just a small bit about myself to start off. My background, as Rachel said, is as a practicing accountant. I started my own practice back in the 80s and eventually grew to a 3-partner practice with 10 staff. While in practice, I provided Payroll Bureau service for about 30 clients, so I have some idea what it was like in the front line. In 1992, I got into payroll software development. A large part of my reasoning for this was to make better software than what I was using at the time. Eventually, I began working in software development full-time, allowing me to focus on a wider range of software packages and expand into the UK. Eventually, we introduced BrightPay and Bright Contracts in both the UK and Ireland. However, I can't claim full credit for BrightPay, as it was written by someone younger and better than I, my fellow director Ross Webster. Today, over 80,000 employers across the UK and Ireland use our products. That's a figure that we are hoping to improve on every year. So here is the agenda for my slot today, which I hope you'll find useful and give you plenty of food for thought. When talking, I will often refer to auto enrolment or automatic enrolment simply as AE. For those of you who have tuned into any of our previous webinars, I apologise if I end up repeating some of the points already made. Unfortunately, this is unavoidable. So auto enrolment is a vast and very complex subject. It would take days, weeks, even months to cover the subject properly. At the end of the day, you should not need to have an in-depth knowledge of AE. It is up to your pension provider and payroll software provider and other advisors to filter out all the noise for you. The key question for accountants, bookkeepers and payroll bureaus is how you can provide auto enrolment as a service in an efficient and profitable manner. And this is what we are going to cover today. So you will see from this slide that January 2016 is when the bulk of small and micro employers will start to stage. And this is the start of the so-called tsunami, and things will definitely heat up from there. By the end of September this year, over 60,000 employers had completed their declaration of compliance, enrolling 5.4 million eligible job holders into a workplace pension scheme. The pensions regulator estimates that over the next 3 years, around 1.8 million small and micro employers will need to act as a result of their new AE duties. It is predicted that 78% of these will turn to an accountant, bookkeeper or payroll bureau. So you have a gift-wrapped business opportunity, and this is business you don't have to go chasing. It is estimated that 90% of an accountant's client base is made up of employers with less than 50 employees, and it is from now onwards that these employers will be affected by auto enrolment. A lot of the companies staging before now will probably have had their own HR people to help them through the enrolment process. The vast majority of those staging from January 2016 will have no in-house expertise. The majority of these employers will not have the knowledge or experience to make informed decisions when it comes to their AE obligations. With a vast quantity of information available, employers are fast becoming confused, bewildered, and overwhelmed. So payroll bureaus need to decide if they are ready to take on AE business. With many shying away from offering this as an extra service, bureaus will need to determine what kind of information and support they will offer to help their clients comply with the new duties. Advisors will find that a large portion of employers will contact them very close to or even after their staging date. And just on this, if a client does contact you after their staging date and has done nothing at that stage, if the staging date is passed by less than 6 weeks, get them to issue postponement letters to all employees immediately. Otherwise, they will need to backdate AE back to the staging date. So there are a number of benefits for your clients who outsource to you for auto enrolment. First of all, time. There will be significant time savings for your payroll clients. By outsourcing AE to a payroll professional, your client can avoid investing huge amounts of time researching how to comply with AE. The implementation of AE could also be very time-consuming if your client doesn't have the correct technology or software in place to automate a lot of the AE admin tasks. Time is money, as the saying goes. Without your help, your payroll clients might choose payroll software that doesn't have AE functionality. Even if it does, some payroll providers are charging an additional charge for AE functionality and a further charge to support your clients through the process. With a bureau, your client can avoid costly mistakes and save time that otherwise would have been taken out of their normal working week. Especially for small and micro employers, their time is extremely precious. Time away from their business is money. Outsourcing AE to a payroll professional frees up their energies and enables them to focus on the core areas of running their business. Implementing AE may require skills that staff do not possess. Outsourcing will provide a level of continuity to the company while reducing the risk of possible non-compliance. By offering a complete end-to-end solutions, bureaus can generate income and enhance client relationships. If bureaus offer other services such as bookkeeping, tax returns, audits, management accounts, etc., they will have a new platform to reach and upsell to this new audience. You will find that employers will be happy to consolidate all their outsourcing services to one person or advisor. With AE comes a number of employer responsibilities. A pension scheme must be set up with a qualifying pension provider, and this should be done in advance of your staging date. This should not require a great deal of time. For example, registering with Nest should only take about 30 minutes on average to complete. An interesting point in relation to registering with a pension scheme is that the pension regulator's latest advice is that if you have no eligible job holders, that you're not required to register with a pension scheme until such time as those job holders may opt in or you actually recruit an eligible job holder. And this is kind of contrary to what they did previously recommend, and it will bring on a little bit of pressure, I think, when the time comes around, that if people haven't chosen their pension scheme at that stage even. Anyway, I think Darren will probably cover this aspect in his presentation later on. Next, the workforce must be assessed at your client staging date, and all eligible job holders must be automatically enrolled into a workplace pension scheme, unless they're using postponement. All employees must receive communications within 6 weeks of the staging date, not just those who have been enrolled. You must notify eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders, and entitled workers, including those who have been postponed for AE and how they have been affected. And again, just to harp on this point, apparently some employers believe that if they choose to postpone all employees for 3 months at their staging date, then nothing needs to be done in that 3-month period. This is not the case, as all employees must receive a communication within 6 weeks of the staging date relating to the postponement and explaining when they will be enrolled. If this communication is not issued, then the postponement effectively never happened. There are also a number of ongoing employer responsibilities, such as handling opt-outs and opt-ins, making deductions and contributions, monitoring employees each pay period, and sending a contribution file to the pension provider. Employers, or you on their behalf, must complete a declaration of compliance within 5 months of the staging date to notify the pensions regulator that they have complied with AE. Fortunately, modern innovative solutions exist that can automate AE chores. Armed with the employer staging date, bureaus can now simply enter the date to assess each employee's eligibility for AE at the staging date. Before staging, the employer or the bureau acting on their behalf should register with a pension provider. Again, this should not take long. Registering with Nest, for example, should take no more than half an hour. Before staging, you should also research software solutions to find out one that will make your life easier. Staging is the most hands-on task involved, and although it can take an hour or two or even less, it will become easier and faster for accountants for every new client that is staged. Tasks at staging include enrolling all relevant employees, communicating as required to all employees, and setting up and commencing employee deductions and employer contributions. Good payroll software will have print-ready employee AE communications based on each employee's individual eligibility. From that point on, it is just a matter of monitoring employees, submitting contribution files to the pension provider, and managing employees who opt in and opt out. Some payroll software monitors the ages and earnings of employees in each subsequent pay period to see if any further enrolments are required and if any new employees should be enrolled. Each of these enrolments should only take minutes to process. Okay, for large, repetitive or time-sensitive tasks, the speed of automated AE offers both significant cost-saving and time-saving benefits to bureaus. This will be especially relevant when these employers approach their bureaus close to, at, or even after their staging date. AE does not need to be a major headache for accountants and their clients, provided they take some time to make sure the right tools are in place to deal with it. AE should become a seamless part of the payroll process, much like RTI. If automatic enrolment is not already included with your current software provider as standard, you may have to pay additional costs for AE functionality and support. Bureaus obviously have the option to consider an alternative software package that has AE features included and no hidden support charges. To check, ask your payroll provider the following questions. Does your payroll software assess your workforce? Does it allow the use of postponement? Does it automate employee communications? Does it calculate pension contributions? Does it handle opt-ins and joining? Does it handle opt-outs and refunds? Does it notify you when actions need to be taken? Does it keep records and provide reports? And does it integrate with some or all pension scheme provider systems? And does it provide free support? If you are selecting new software, you should ensure that it is compatible with your existing systems. So this is where the plug commences. We're going to have a look at how BrightPay handles auto enrolment tasks. BrightPay is an integrated payroll and auto enrolment solution that works to automate and simplify the AE process. We try to make it as easy as possible for you to help your clients achieve compliance while saving you both time and money. We've helped thousands of employers with their AE duties over the last couple of years. We have learned a thing or two about what is important to bureaus who have payroll clients and how we as payroll software providers can make it easy for you to complete these employer tasks. Firstly, to cover the basics, BrightPay can handle weekly, fortnightly, 4-weekly and monthly payment schedules. Also, basic, daily, hourly and statutory pay are easily dealt with. Payslips can be emailed directly from the payroll to your client's employees with a password-secure PDF attachment. BrightPay handles all RTI submissions and it automatically creates full payment submissions as you progress throughout the payroll year. But this goes on. Today, with Auto Enrolment, what's very important to note is that BrightPay has Auto Enrolment functionality as standard, and AE is included in the price. Generally, the process of assessing each and every employee can be time-consuming. From your client's staging date, all eligible job holders will need to be automatically enrolled into a workplace pension scheme unless you are using postponement. BrightPay accesses employee PUI information, and based on the employer's wage and age, BrightPay will assess and calculate who needs to be enrolled. BrightPay will further alert you to what your AE obligations are for each employee based on their employee category. Once you have a pension scheme in place, the ease and speed of enrolling employees is fundamental to the AE process. Eligible employees will have the option to opt out of a pension scheme within a month of being enrolled. Equally, non-eligible job holders will have the option to opt in to the workplace pension scheme. BrightPay is capable of enrolling eligible employees, processing opt-out and opt-in requests, refunding all deductions already made, and showing this refund in the payslip. This is all automated. A useful feature in BrightPay is the option to process more than one employee at a time, which can save a lot of time if your clients have a large number of employees. Communicating with your clients' employees is a mandatory part of auto enrolment. The letter must explain to each and every employee how automatic enrolment affects them. In addition, it is important to make sure that each employee receives the correct communication based on their individual work status. The pensions regulator has also outlined specific requirements that need to be included in the content of these letters to employees. While there are a number of free letter templates available for bureaus to process manually, this would be quite time-consuming to customize each letter to each individual employee with their contribution rates, staging date, and personal details. BrightPay automatically prepares tailored automatic enrollment letters customized to each individual employee, ready for printing or emailing. Employers have the option to postpone automatic enrolment for up to 3 months for some or all of their staff. If your client chooses the option to postpone, a letter must be produced informing employees that they have been postponed. On the last day of the postponement period, each of the postponed employees will need to be reassessed to determine their work category and enroll if necessary. The option to postpone AE is built into BrightPay, including alerts when the postponement period has expired. Again, it will save you time if the employee communication that details postponement is automated within the software compared to manually producing this documentation. BrightPay also allows you to postpone multiple employees at the same time. So once a client has reached their staging date and automatically enrolled employees, your AE responsibilities do not stop there. AE means you must also monitor any change to the employee's work status. For example, if an employee's income exceeds the threshold, or if an employee reaches 22, their worker category will change. BrightPay will recognize this change to the employee's work status and automatically inform you of your AE obligation and produce the necessary communications. There is no need to run or export a report each pay period. Payroll software should continuously monitor staff to ensure that employees are automatically enrolled when they become an eligible job holder. BrightPay does alert you to such events and prompts you to perform the necessary action, be it enroll or postpone, making your job easier. It will be important to maintain a schedule of contributions and ensure you can make the correct payments to each employee. BrightPay will automatically set up the phased minimum contribution levels for you. There's also an option to set up custom contribution levels if you decide to change the percentage contributions for employees. At each pay period, BrightPay will automatically make the relevant contributions and deductions for each of your client's employees based on the chosen pension scheme and the percentage contribution the employer has decided on. These contributions and deductions will then be included on each employee's payslip. BrightPay can make these deductions and keep up to date with the contributions. Integration with AE pension providers will also be a key consideration to think about when weighing up the various payroll solutions out there. BrightPay is currently compatible with 14 different pension providers, and it's for CSV uploads, and also we are developing API integration, which we have just about completed for Nest. There are certain records that must be kept by law by both the employer and the pension scheme as proof of compliance. Employers must record this information about their employees and their chosen pension scheme. These records must be kept for a minimum of 6 years. For each employee, you must keep communications containing opt-in, joining or opt-out notices. These records must be kept in a certain format for the pensions regulator. BrightPay's reporting function is customizable to your own requirements for any other analysis that you should want. The way payroll software providers are pricing their automatic enrollment functionality completely varies across the industry. Certain solutions are choosing to charge extra per employee per month, which could quickly add up, especially as demands for auto enrolment grows. Others have decided to charge a completely separate fee for an auto enrolment feature, add-on or module. Some packages on the market do have automatic enrolment included, but the functionality can be basic or limited, even manual. It would be cost-effective to select a solution such as BrightPay where there are no additional charges per employee or per payroll client. Make sure to read the small print and be aware of hidden support charges too. These hidden costs can add up and ultimately affect your bottom line. Some payroll software providers have limitations to the auto enrollment features and functionalities they offer. BrightPay can handle and automate the employer AE duties for you. Additionally, a number of providers will only allow you to process a certain number of employees or payroll clients before the cost increases significantly. While a large portion of the employees might be eligible, there are still duties that need to be completed for non-eligible and entitled workers. Check that there are no limitations when it comes to AE functionality and ensure that there are no restrictions with the number of employees or employers that can be set up. So I would now like to hand you over to a glass of water. I'm now going to hand you over to Rachel for a quick demo showing you just how easy auto enrollment can be with BrightPay. In this example, we are assuming that the employer, or you on their behalf, has already registered with a pension provider, in this case Nest. Registering with Nest, as I said, should really only take about 30 minutes on average to complete. So over to you, Rachel.
Thanks, Paul. 2 seconds there. Okay, so today we're going to have a look at a company that's set up in BrightPay who are set to stage on the 1st of January 2016 and who are using Nest as their auto-enrollment pension provider. So as soon as your staging date is known, this must be entered in the Pensions tab and in the designated field provided. This is to make sure that on-screen auto-enrollment alerts start up at the right time for you. Adding a pension scheme is also straightforward and can be done in advance of your staging date. Simply click Add New Scheme and choose the relevant pension provider from the listing. So as Paul mentioned, currently BrightPay has 14 different pension providers and today we're going to use Nest. So you must now enter your employer reference and you will receive this when you're setting up your pension scheme with the pension provider. And in the next tab you have to enter the group name, so here I'll say monthly. And you can also edit the contribution type and the earnings basis or add additional groups if required, for example if you have employees on different pay frequencies. So I'll press save there. You'll see now at the top of the screen there's an assessment preview. So Paul briefly mentioned this earlier, and essentially it gives you an overview of what auto enrolment will look like when your client reaches their staging date. So this is a useful thing to send to your clients maybe 6 months in advance of their staging date. So you'll see on the screen here, it gives details of the worker categories of each individual employee, along with their qualifying earnings, their contribution amounts, and the total contribution amounts. So this document also includes some general information about employee assessment. So I'll send you on a copy of this of this PDF in the follow-up email, just so you can look at it in more detail.
Just one thing to mention there, Rachel, that actual pre-assessment, the preview is still being tweaked at the moment.
Okay.
Because I think initially we've made an assumption that a lot of the non-eligible job holders would opt in, where in fact the industry stats are suggesting that it's only between 1% and 2% that are choosing the opt-in. So we're actually going to no longer assume that, but
Okay.
at the same time we'll assume that no eligible job holders will opt out, so that should probably cancel.
So the non-eligible job holders will be appearing like the entitled workers with no amounts here.
Yeah.
Okay. If we go back to the payroll now, we have to finalise up to our staging date. So just bear with us a second. And as soon as you reach your staging date, you'll see these flags and alerts appear. So these alerts notify you that you have auto enrolment duties to perform. So if we click through, these will give you the different options available for the selected employee's worker category. So Amy here is an eligible job holder. So if we click enroll, simply choose the scheme you wish to enroll her into and click continue. So that there is Amy enrolled, and BrightPay will automatically prepare the enrolment letter, and this is ready for printing, exporting to PDF or emailing directly from within BrightPay. So if I go into print preview, you'll see here the letter is customized to the individual employee. It'll give details of their contribution rates, their option to opt out, their staging date, general information about how auto enrolment will affect the employee. So once they have received the letter, we simply mark it as done. And you'll see now that Amy's flag has disappeared, so that means we're finished with our staging duties for Amy. Our next employee here is a non-eligible job holder. So the options are different in that you can print or export the right to opt-in letter. You can opt them in if they choose to do so, postpone or mark as exempt. And again, then an entitled worker is slightly different in that they have the option to join the scheme rather than opt into the scheme. So a useful feature in BrightPay, as mentioned by Paul earlier, is the option to process more than one employee at the same time. So you'll see here, when enrolling one employee, you will be given the option to enroll multiple employees with these settings. So I'll tick each of those there. And again, BrightPay will automatically prepare the enrolment letter, which can be printed, exported to PDF or emailed to multiple employees all at the same time and marked as done. Again, BrightPay can handle the postponement, so a few options. And again, the postponement can also be done in batch, so I'll just have to go forward a few months here. And again, postpone assessment for multiple employees. So I'll just tick up each of those there. BrightPay can also prepare the postponement letter for you, and again, it can be printed, exported to PDF or emailed to multiple employees at the same time and marked as done. So you can see here now the employee contributions and the employer contributions are shown up on the live calculation here. And if we finalize the pay slips, I'll go into print preview here, you will see deductions showing up on the pay slip that the employee receives also.
Just to interrupt you there, Rachel, I don't know, when you finalise pay slips in a pay period, if there were flags still existing beside any of the employees, it would alert you to that fact at that stage. It would tell you that there is automatic enrolment duties outstanding. So it's not just the case that you have to notice that there are flags. It will stop you, from finalising.
Okay. So another thing that BrightPay handles is the enrolment and contribution files. So if we go back to the pensions tab here and click on enrolment summary, we can here create the enrolment CSV file, and we simply tick along, enter the payment source, copy this to all and simply save the file to a location of your choice. You must then log on to the pension provider's web portal and upload this file manually. The contributions file then, simply click the contribution summary, create CSV file. It's much the same again, enter the payment date and save the file to a location of your choice. So at the moment, as I said, you have to do that manually, but Paul mentioned there the Nest API where there'll be a direct link from the payroll software to the pension provider, much like RTI. So if an employee decides to opt out, we can go into the Employees tab, simply click on the employee and click opt out. And you will receive an opt-out reference from the pension provider, so enter it in there. And there she is opted out. And if we go back to the payroll now and on to the next pay period, you'll see Amy here has got a refund of all the contributions made to date. So a final feature in BrightPay to do with the auto enrolment is the analysis. And BrightPay allows you to create your own auto enrolment report. So I have one set up here already. And run report. It has the details of the worker categories and the relevant dates where applicable. So to create a new report, we can simply click New Report, choose the scheme or the columns you wish to include. I'll just create a Nest report here. Run. So you'll see here it has the total contribution rates and contribution amounts. These reports then can be printed, exported to PDF, or even saved so that they can appear here so that you can access them quickly instead of building it each pay period. So that completes the short demo of today, and before I pass you back to Paul, I'm going to quickly go through the pricing of BrightPay. And BrightPay's Bureau license includes unlimited employers, unlimited employees, free phone and email support, all for £199 plus VAT per tax year. We also have a 50% discount at the moment for new customers when you switch from a different payroll software provider. So I'll pass you back now again to Paul quickly to finish off the presentation.
For that, Rachel. Okay, so just go through the 7 steps of providing a profitable AE service. Step 1, simplify and automate your auto enrolment duties. Payroll bureaus don't need to shy away from servicing their payroll clients. With the right auto enrolment tools, you can simplify the process and automate the AE chores. By automating the AE process, you will reduce the amount of time you spend handling each payroll client. This will be key to success and allow you to increase the speed involved in these types of jobs. Avoid inefficient or expensive AE software and save time and money. With a combined payroll and AE solution in place, bureaus will benefit from greater efficiency, increased value added, and improved cost savings. Engage with your clients. Advisors will find that a large proportion of their clients will contact them very close to or even after their staging date. It is important to engage with small and micro employers that have not yet staged to help reduce the number of latecomers. The first thing to do is to find out your client's staging date in order to start planning accordingly. It is possible to look up your client's staging date on the pension regulator's website if you have their PAYE employer number. You need to be proactive and notify these clients that you are open for AE business. Communicate your service offering and price it with your clients so they know who is responsible for each task. It would be a good idea to send your clients an overview of what auto enrolment would look like at the time of staging. In a few minutes, we've actually shown you the pre-assessment tool, and that's probably the ideal thing to show them, because then they'll be able to cost it and they'll know whether they need to actually register a pension scheme based on that preview. Be aware that if you decide not to process AE, there will be a risk that you will lose some or all of your payroll clients. Avoid penalties. The impact of AE will affect your client's business now and for the foreseeable future. The pensions regulator continues to enforce fines and penalties for non-compliance. Up to June this year, the pensions regulator had issued 1,295 compliance notices and 332 fixed penalty notices. And you can take it that this amount will escalate substantially when the small and micro employers enter the fray. Not allowing enough time to plan could lead to your clients being fined. By planning ahead, it will allow you on behalf of your clients to avoid hefty penalty fines. Communicate that you are open for auto enrolment business. By understanding employer AE obligations, a bureau can position themselves as an authority figure who is open for AE business. Employers outsource their payroll process to you because you have the know-how and it saves them time and money. Today with AE, it is not only about cutting costs for employers, but trusting you as a payroll professional to make sure that they are fully AE compliant. Furthermore, some employers may not have the competency, time or know-how to handle AE. Once employers have a confidence in your knowledge and ability, they should be open to the idea of outsourcing these AE tasks to you for a chargeable fee. Have the correct payroll software tools in place. Payroll software will play a vital role in ensuring the success of AE. Without the appropriate systems, bureaus will need additional time and resources to cope with AE. Payroll software can provide the necessary functions to automate all the admin tasks. You will need to know which employees need to be automatically enrolled and which employees have the option to opt in. Payroll software can access employee pay and other information so as to establish who will be eligible, non-eligible or entitled. The regulator further urges bureaus and employers to check with their payroll provider to ensure that it will correctly identify the duty you have for each employee and to see if the system will support the requirements of AE. Increase revenue. AE is presenting bureaus with a unique platform to increase profits. There are a huge number of small and micro employers due to stage between now and 2018. It will be important to capitalise on this window of opportunity. By offering AE as a chargeable service, bureaus can add additional revenue streams, provide added value to existing clients, and increase the possibility of bringing new clients on board. It further provides a competitive edge to you over other bureaus that refuse to provide AE as a service to their clients. And finally, step 7, ensure that your software has auto enrolment functionality. Having payroll software with comprehensive auto enrolment functionality will play a vital role in ensuring the success of auto enrolment. Ensuring that your chosen payroll software provide all the necessary functions that can automate all the admin tasks. The regulator urges bureaus and employers to check with the payroll software provided to ensure that it correctly identifies the duty you have for all employees. So, I think that is it. Before I pass you over to Darren, if you have any questions in relation to BrightPay and AE, please type them into the chat bar now so that we can get through as many questions as we can in the Q&A session. So I'm delighted to pass you over to Darren Critton, who will present Auto Enrolment, Collaboration is the Key to Success. Thanks, Darren.
Morning. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. I've taken some time out of my diary to just run through the benefits of collaborating with professionals around the AE space. Great. So you should be able to see my title screen here. Continuum is a trading name of Continuum Financial Services, which is actually appointed representative of the Kairos Financial Network. Now, I chose to specialise in the field of automatic enrolment what seems like many years ago, and have now completed the Pensions Management Institute certificate in auto enrolment. I have a smiley face on the board there because that's my sort of sense of satisfaction after sort of studying so hard and finally getting to grasp of the subject, which obviously is changing what seems like on a monthly basis. I'm going to offer 2 hours of free consultancy time with myself, and I'm hoping to help you guys devise an AE proposition for your practice, which is tailored to your own business. And I've got some questions hidden in my slides. I'm going to ask you to answer this question. How many parts make up the AE value chain? So watch out for the AE value chain in a moment. So let's have a look why you should collaborate. I think we'll all be agreed that there's a large amount of information out there, information overload. There's 103 days worth of reading in the guides. There's a guide for everything. There's a guide for talking to staff, talking to employers, what you can say, what you can't say, what you should do at all times. Obviously, there's no time to go through these now. They do sort of bring up these sort of titles and instructions, things for us to get our heads around. If you use good software, this should all be done and made easy for you. However, all of these things do need to be thought out and considered, and can be different for each business that you look after. So here is the view from the client. One moment, please. Sorry. The clients, as you know, have a checklist to follow through, which is available on the pension regulator's website, and there are numerous steps involved. I think Paul has gone through a couple of those just now. And I think that the regulator makes an excellent support area for clients wishing to comply, and they have got tools and calculators. Things are going really well there. They've got checklists. It's becoming easier and easier and easier. But I do think that clients may well start the process and try it for themselves, but actually it doesn't take long for them to discover that they need your help and they're in your hands, and they will turn to advisors to help them. So let's look at these steps one by one. First one being nominate a contact. Now, a lot of the clients that I'm seeing, or a lot of the accountants that I'm seeing, are saying that their clients are too busy to act, and they don't understand pensions, and they do not understand the importance. We know that the regulator has written to all clients to remind them to nominate a contact. It's really who's going to be responsible for receiving communications. And we also know that with a PAYE reference and the 10-digit reference from the regulator's letter, that is how you go online and actually nominate. And I think most of us would know this now. Apologies for speeding up here because I want to try and finish within the hour. Know your staging dates. Yeah, the regulator has written, but then again, the letters that are coming through from the regulator need some reading because there is more than one date on that letter. And I have known that clients have been confused about deadlines as well. So a lot of clients think this is too far ahead to pay attention to now. They're dealing with other priorities. And there's one note of caution really here is that the client could well be coming to you in your busiest period. So some of the accountants out there have got January stages. January might not necessarily be the time to start looking at this for the first time. So it's very, very, very important to be well and prepared prior to the event. I think most of the employers out there know that this is coming now, but this is really just a wake-up call to make sure that you're running your practice in your own on your own terms, really. Assessing the workforce. Well, how is the client going to do that? They've got the complicated titles to run through. They are going to need your help. No two ways about this. We may know that there's 3 categories, but the client doesn't know this at this stage. So they're going to need to turn to you by now for your help. They may have existing pension schemes in place, and they will need to be reviewed to make sure that they can be made qualifying. And it's difficult to talk to pension providers right now because they're all swamped in large amounts of admin and requests, not only for pension freedom, but for automatic enrolment advice as well. Communicating the changes to workers. Yeah, if you've got the right software, such as BrightPay, they make that very, very easy. However, it does take some time to consider what types of communications to run, and the lack of knowledge about pensions makes this more this makes this tricky. And generally, there is a low level of understanding about pensions amongst the workforce. Automating and enrolling. Well, simply clients need you to do that because you're running the payroll. So they'll be expecting you to do this automatically, but you will obviously need those clients to be involved with the process, and this is the crux of the matter, really. So a lot of the clients will just expect you to do it all for them. Once all of this is in place, they then have to go through the declaration of compliance, and again, with 19 pieces of information. And if you were running the project for a client, you'd obviously be completing this information as you run through. However, if you weren't around to do this, how is the client going to satisfy this? And I think this is really where we're seeing some of the compliance notices and fines coming through here, is that clients have actually got themselves through with the help of their advisors. They've got themselves through automatic enrolment. Maybe they haven't actually completed the declaration of compliance and told the regulator what they've done. It's a key point here. So I think clients themselves would have probably given up by now. So let's have a look at what the automatic enrolment proposition should look like, and how we can add the value. Now, there's 8 opportunities in the automatic enrolment value chain, and I'm just going to very, very quickly whiz through these 8 stages just so that you get some things that you can think about as we go through. So have a think about what services you can provide in-house, what's the best way to add maximum value each step, and how you're going to set yourself apart from other providers. Can you find a specialist locally or online? Can you work together? Can you make this faster and more efficient across the piece? First one, assess the workforce. I think Paul touched on this earlier. Wouldn't it be a great idea to issue each of your clients a small document, an initial assessment of the staff and the contributions? That would be a good thing to do. There are some areas to watch out for here. We can talk about them later if you wish, around directors, those with 0-hour contracts, agency staff, self-employed contractors, and even part-time cleaners who have come into the fray before now, and take some consideration on those. Okay, next step is agreeing the contributions. Now, who's going to talk through with the client on which basis their contribution should be? Are we going to use qualifying earnings? Are we going to use total pay or basic pay? This is something that the client needs to consider, and that's, I think, something possibly you could help your clients with. So helping them, and also maybe putting the options to them in your small report might be something you can do. I mean, this is sort of thing that's easily produced. Selecting the provider. Now, there are a realm of different providers out there, all have different ways of dealing with pensions. They have different charging structures. They have different facilities, and some of them will do different things. It's really just a case of knowing. Well, the first point being that whoever you choose for your provider panel have to be compatible with your payroll. And there are some things that the regulators say that you should take in consideration when selecting a scheme, and those are really around simplicity. Is it simple for the clients to understand? Does it offer good value for money, as it does have a low annual management charge, a low ANC? Are the communications clear and easy to issue? And is there a quality investment fund, and more importantly, a default fund for the client? Obviously, one of the things that a financial advisor can do is to assess the market and actually recommend a scheme with advice. It's another key part that we can come back to later. Can you recommend a pension scheme? Next one is engaging with the staff. Now, it's okay having great payroll facility and being able to issue letters, but there's a little bit of background here, and what normally happens is there are other questions get generated from the staff and from the employer. So who's going to answer the pension questions? Who's going to engage with the staff and educate them? A little bit of time spent with the staff will actually make that new pension contribution become much more valuable, and it could be part of a bit of ongoing planning. If there's no education and engagement within the workforce, you may well find that the amount of pension questions can start to ramp up. And when we hit the volumes, so we need to find out who is going to answer those pension questions. Obviously, collaborating with a professional, you can lean against the professional to answer all the questions that will be generated from the workplace. The main point here being enrolment, and we all know that the payroll process has changed. It's really a case of how long now does your payroll process take for each client with automatic enrolment in mind. So let's just have a very quick look at the process itself. So the automatic enrolment process starts with the opening of payroll, go around to assessment, find out who to enroll. The letters need to be sent to the workers, the instructions to the pension provider. The rules of the pension provider are set up, so we know what the contribution is going to be. We're back to payroll then, to make the payment. I know that's been a very quick run through there, but I'm conscious of time. And I'm more than happy to follow up with any individuals on any parts of this as we go through. There needs to be an opt-out process, and we know that members have 30 days to opt out during the opt-out window. Who's going to handle the opt-out notice? It cannot be the employer, because we know that the employer must stand back from this process and be at arm's length, because the employer cannot be part of the process to protect themselves from what we call prohibited recruitment conduct, which is essentially proving that you're not influencing a member of staff to opt out of the pension. Record keeping, I think Paul touched on this earlier on. Opt-out notices need to be kept for 4 years, and all of the records for 6 years. So together with your chosen professional and your payroll software provider, making sure these records are stored and they can be retrieved in case you ever have to produce copies. And making the contributions, obviously that's done through payroll. Now I personally think that the parts in the middle of this process, 3, 4 and 5, are the key parts, and I think this is the sort of thing that's done best with an automatic enrolment specialist, and type of thing that could be dealt with and part of your service. So together with payroll, together with a professional, I think that is the best way to run an automatic enrolment proposition. And the key to all of this is having modern software and good technology, of which BrightPay is an excellent example. So that is the value chain, and that's what a great proposition should look like. So around those 8 areas. I'll just very quickly have a quick look at the proposition that I am putting in front of both accountants and employers in terms of continuum. So we use the Creative Pension Trust. We have automated an awful lot of what I've just said into one system. And the good news is that this system is very, very compatible with BrightPay. So our system will take the client through all of the things that they need to decide, and we've got various guides depending on whether you're payroll, whether you're actually a client, or whether you're a member. Costs come into this. So we have a tariff, and we charge various different prices for various different categories. You can see the costs that we put in place there. It's what's important to say with Continuum is that this is an overall proposition to the clients, not really just workplace pensions. It's a 360-degree view of the business for the benefit of the employer and the employees. So yes, we offer workplace pensions, but we also offer workplace protection, workplace benefits, workplace education, and the most popular, workplace advice, which is where an advisor can be at the workplace to answer those questions. So why collaborate? Obviously there are time savings available for you to focus on your own core activities, reduce your own costs and your overheads by finding the best systems, the best people to help, protect those client relationships with the right advisor that can add real value to your client and your business. In summary, what clients want is they want quality payroll, they want a quality pension, but most of all, they need compliance to the rules. And when these 3 meet, the client is happy. Next steps would be finding your client staging dates. I'm guessing probably most of you have already done that. Prioritizing your workload so you know when your client is going to reach you, and even better, being proactive to make sure that you're in control of that. Publish your service proposition. Make sure that your clients know you're open for automatic enrolment. Publish your tariff. You can either make it mandatory that your clients follow your lead, or make it optional. And I would urge you to create your own proposition, have as many of your clients follow it as possible to make your own systems repeatable and therefore more efficient. My top tips are use fast, efficient software, Be clear on your service, what you will do, what you won't do, and be firm on price. So that ends my session. I apologise it was a little bit of a quick run through, just conscious of the time, and I've left you here with my mobile number, the website for the continuum offering for accountants, and a note of my email address. I'll be delighted to join you in LinkedIn, if any of you use LinkedIn. If any of you want to answer any questions offline, that would be great. And I think Paul, should we work together now to answer some of these questions?
Yes, Darren, yeah, that'd be great. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Good, good. I was just looking at your presentation there as well, and one of the things we are coming across definitely is that a lot of accountants don't know where to turn when it comes to actually choosing a pension scheme. So I can definitely see a need for that part of your service.
Yes. Good.
Okay.
It's very complicated, the whole thing. Okay.
So just quickly before we get to the questions, I'm just going to mention a few points here. In our follow-up email, we'll include the link to the recording of the webinar, along with links to book a demo, free auto enrolment guides, and information about our upcoming webinars. Our next webinar is on Tuesday, the 17th of November, and Paul will be discussing auto enrolment 5 steps to bureau success, and we'll have a guest speaker on the day from Trust Pensions. Here's a few statistics from a recent customer survey. And I'd also like to mention as well that BrightPay are accredited by the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, and we're a preferred payroll supplier for tax-assist accountants. So the questions now, and there is a good few questions coming in here. Let's get Paul up on the screen. Okay, so the first question I'll send over to you, Darren. Having assessed your employees and all are entitled workers, do you need a scheme in place from the start, or can you wait until you get a membership request?
Okay, so originally the point was that you had to have a scheme for every client, but this was later softened so that if you only have entitled workers, and those are the only duties that you have for entitled workers, then you could delay having a scheme in place and wait until you get a request, and that request should be recorded. However, I wouldn't want anybody to think out there that they had entitled workers out there which they thought will never ask me to join the pension, and then delay getting a scheme on that basis, because I think it's probably just as well to get yourself a scheme and have it there anyway. And let's bear in mind, it's not just having a scheme or not having a scheme. You still have duties to that individual, and you still have to complete the Declaration of Compliance. And in that Declaration of Compliance, it asks you, what is your scheme? So, bit of a misnomer. Technically speaking, don't have to have the scheme from the staging date. Could delay having a scheme, but I would have to question the benefit of doing that.
Okay. A question for Paul here. Is it possible to change the template letters?
Well, currently, no, it's not actually possible to do that. But again, I'd probably sort of ask, why would you want to? Because we actually need to make sure that the letters are compliant with what the pensions regulator is requiring us to issue. So there really should be no need to actually change the template anyway.
Okay, and who do the letters come from?
Well, it's the responsibility of the employer to actually issue the letters. The employer is actually responsible for everything we need to do with auto enrolment, but if the accountant or the bureau is providing that as a service, yes, the bureau will be issuing the letter on the client's behalf. Okay.
Back to Darren now. I think this one is for you. How much would an accountant charge for auto enrolment?
We're working with a host of different accountants, and they all have various ways of charging their clients for existing payroll. And what I'm seeing across the board is that the payroll side of things, the ongoing payroll costs, are being increased by anything up to half as much again for ongoing payroll. And there are quite a few accountants out there. I think they're charging somewhere between, the lowest I've seen is £259, and the highest I've seen is £997 as an upfront fee to get ready. So a range from around about 250 to 1,000, and ongoing payroll fees up to a maximum of half again. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So that was up to 1,000 just for the staging, was it, Darren?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Having said that, we are starting now to see the smaller employers come on stream. So I think the charges of old, the charging model of old, needs to be reviewed, because our target audience is now small and micro employers, and I wouldn't have thought they've got the. I might be speaking out of turn here, but I don't think they've got the palatability to be paying large fees. I think it's more now a case of volume and smaller fees.
Yeah. Back to Paul here. I currently use Sage. How easy is it to export mid-year figures, employee data file, and import it into BrightPay?
Well, yeah, we have instructions on how to do that on the website. You have to basically export a file from Sage and import it into BrightPay, but it's fairly straightforward. Ideally, the time to do the transfer from one payroll to another is probably at the start of the tax year. Therefore, there's no complications involved.
Okay. Another one in here for you, Darren, as well. How would the practice work with Darren to ensure compliance?
So if an accountancy practice or a payroll bureau wants to work with me to ensure compliance, it's really a project management type of approach. I would be making sure that the right payroll provider or the facilities within the payroll provider were compatible with the pension scheme, and I would be helping the clients to understand AE. So could you just repeat the question again? Was it a question about charging? Was it a question about how do I apply my services?
How would the practice work with Darren to ensure compliance?
Yeah. Most practices that I've spoken to so far, a lot of them have different ways of dealing. So I think it's a one-on-one relationship with myself, and mainly it's around project management and the ability for me to be able to talk and take the pension questions on board.
Okay. Back to Paul here now again. Is BrightPay available on Mac?
Well, we have a beta version of a Mac BrightPay software available at the moment, which is going fully live, hopefully before Christmas. But yeah, no, it will be available for the Mac.
Okay. There's another one here as well. It's just about Auto Enrolment, so I'm not sure which of you want to answer it. Do director-only companies or director and wife companies have to go through the Auto Enrolment process?
Do you want to take that, Darren?
Yeah, it's can be a bit of a grey area when you've got a small company. Let's say the husband and wife set up, and it's a limited company, and the wife may be the secretary, and the wife is using up the £10,000 or £10,600, which is soon to be £11,000 personal allowance via PAYE. And I think the thing to remember here is wherever you see PAYE, I think what you've got there is someone who's being paid as they earn. And I think those individuals could be considered workers, and therefore there's an employer and a worker, and therefore you've got a automatic enrolment need. So I've seen two sides of this. If you were to go to the pensions regulator and ask this question, they would say you need to take employment law, consult with an employment lawyer. But my advice would be, if you're using PAYE and you see PAYE, then you have got an employer and a worker, and therefore, yes, you do need to, the employer needs to exercise his duties. If there's two directors and they're taking dividends only, so they really are directors in the true sense of the word, they are classed as office holders, both of them. Therefore, there are no workers and there's no duties to pay. So you've got to watch out for PAYE.
I think just the first part of that question, Rachel, where it says to director only. I suppose if there's only one employee and that employee is a director, it really doesn't matter what their contract suggests. I think they're actually considered not an employee from the point of view of auto enrolment. That's my understanding.
Yes, it is a one. That's right, Paul. Yeah, it's a one person, a one director, single director only. There is no case to answer for automatic enrolment.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So I think we'll leave it at that for today. We've kind of gone over time a little bit. We'll send out the follow-up email with the recording and with the links for you. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And I'd like to thank Darren and Paul for their time.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Okay, good luck guys.
Cheers.